I just sat through a 45-minute Buildertrend sales demo and a 46-minute JobTread demo. And in this video, I'm gonna break down both products because if you're on the fence, you deserve to have all the facts on Buildertrend and JobTread. So let's dive in. One of them is gonna charge you $6.99 a month on a 12-month minimum contract and require an exit interview in order to cancel. The other is a month-to-month contract with a 30-day free trial at $199. So what are the biggest differences? That's what we're gonna cover in this video. First, we need to understand the history of both companies. So first, we're gonna talk about Buildertrend. This was founded in 2006 by a guy named Dan Houghton out of Omaha, Nebraska. And he was partnered with the Duggar brothers. And they actually just hit 20 years in business at IBS 2026, where we actually got to witness them hitting 20 years in business. Buildertrend is also the largest project management company in the entire space with over 20,000 active members. And Buildertrend was actually acquired in 2020 by a private equity company for an undisclosed amount of money. And in 2021, they acquired Co-Construct, who at that point was their largest competition. In November of 2023, Buildertrend also laid off 16% of their staff. This is by far the Goliath in this story. Now let's talk about the David of the story. JobTread, founded in 2019 by Eric Fortenberry out of Dallas, Texas. They hit 10,000 members in January of 2026 this year. This company was completely bootstrapped. There's no outside money. Eric and his team built this themselves. One of the really cool things about JobTread as well is Eric, the founder, is very ingrained with the community. They have a JobTread Pros Facebook group where there's constantly questions being asked in there, and typically the first person to answer the questions is Eric himself, which is not found within the Buildertrend community. So both of these are very real options, but which one is the best fit for you? One seems to be more Goliath and one seems to be more David. And they both have really great strong points to them both. It's not a matter of are they professional? It's a matter of which one is the better fit for what your needs are. So let's dive into a little bit about what differentiates them. So from the sales demo, I met with a guy named Zach Spencer. And Zach was incredibly nice. I had multiple conversations with him before the meeting just to confirm. There was like zero sales pressure to hop on the actual demo. And in that sales demonstration, we went in depth on the pricing model that JobTread offers. So this is up to date as of May 2026. Keep in mind, this is the same pricing that they offered more than 3 years ago. So it's $199 a month on a monthly term, month to month, with a 30-day free trial and $20 per additional user. Or you can opt into their annual deal, which is $159 a year at $18 every additional user. And they actually do have volume breaks on the user amount after 10. They also include a 30-day money-back guarantee. The setup, the training, the support, everything is included within that $199. And they also have a vendor marketplace where they vet and pre-qualify multiple vendors that they then put on their marketplace. And you can actually find us on there as well. So JobTread is a very solid option for very minimal amount of money compared to Buildertrend, which we're gonna dive into next. But Buildertrend may be worth more, but do the features back up the price? That's what we're gonna get into. But first, let's talk more about the pricing. So the Buildertrend pricing is a minimum 12-month commitment. You can pay monthly at $6.99, or you can pay quarterly at $6.69, or you can pay annually, and it averages out to be a $6.39 a month deal. But at minimum, you are stuck in a 12-month commitment with them. And they do require a 30-day notice before cancellation and an exit interview. One other unfortunate thing with Buildertrend, not to be biased, but a lot of the reviews talk about how it's consistently moved up in price. And so what'll end up happening is if you sign a 1-year commitment and you sign up for the $6.99 a year, what could possibly happen is in the middle of that, they actually increase the price. Now, I'm not 100% verified on if that's happened, but a few of the reviews have mentioned similar circumstances happening to them. One other thing too about Buildertrend is you do actually have to pay extra for additional onboarding and additional support. It's not all included. So 12 months on Buildertrend's advanced plan is $83.88. And 12 months on JobTread's plan with 2 users is $26.28. That's over a $5,700 a year difference between both products. So let's see if the features are worth that extra $5,700. So let's break this down into a few categories. First, we have estimating. Next, we have scheduling. Next, we have sub and bid management. Then we have client portal. Then we have mobile. Then we have AI. Then we have integrations and accounting. Then we'll talk about allowances. JobTread has formulas, parameters, on-screen takeoff, items and groups, and 5-level deep group hierarchy. Buildertrend has takeoff with preloaded assemblies. Their actual differentiator is this. Plus they have bid packages and a proposal builder. This one I'm gonna honestly call a tie. JobTread is more flexible, but Buildertrend's assemblies do more of the math up front. Different builders prefer different approaches. Next, we're gonna talk about scheduling. JobTread has Gantt charts, calendar view, list view, drag and drop dependencies, color coding, and global view. Buildertrend, some basic capabilities, but it's very well developed. The edge on this one, honestly, is another tie. Both have like a good, basic, easy to use scheduling system within them. Next, we have sub and bid management. So with JobTread, you can have actually unlimited subs, and they have a form, like an onboarding form, that the subs can fill out that builds a profile for them. They also have a really good bid request workflow, plus COI tracking with reminders. Buildertrend has something somewhat similar. They have a really strong sub portal with COI tracking as well, and bid packaging. I have to give this one to JobTread though. They win because you can have unlimited subs in here. Whereas Buildertrend, this can get very costly. Next, we have client portal. JobTread absolutely nailed this. From JobTread, you can send a link to the homeowner and they can sign in with a link and they don't even need to create a login, making it very easy from that email link for the homeowner to go in and use it. Not complicated to use at all. But Buildertrend takes the win on this. They have the best in class client portal. They have a very, very polished UI, which means design, for the client portal, making it look very professional. They have sign-off workflows, comment threading, plus something that was really cool that blew my mind was an AI auto-generated report. I have to say, this is Buildertrend's #1 advantage over JobTread. All right, now we're gonna head into mobile. Most people that are gonna be using JobTread or Buildertrend are gonna be on the job site, either using an iPad or using a phone. So how do they match up using mobile? Because desktop is one thing, or laptop is one thing, but mobile is a whole other thing. So Buildertrend on their demo really hit home how their advantage is having an app on the App Store, but JobTread actually has a web application which you can add to your home screen, which essentially is the exact same thing. Don't be fooled by Buildertrend having theirs on the App Store. It doesn't make that much of a difference. You can still use JobTread's offline, as well as you can use Buildertrend's offline. And so there's no massive differentiator here. It's pretty well split. Both are very mobile friendly, and you can do everything on a computer that you can do on mobile for both. I should be careful with saying that you can do everything. The one limitation that Buildertrend has is you can't do estimates on mobile. You have to have either an iPad or a computer of some sort to build an estimate. You can't do it from their native app. This was even admitted on the sales demo that I had. The sales rep said that Buildertrend can only do about 80 to 90% of the things on the mobile app that it could do on the website version. Whereas JobTread, you can do 100% of the same things on mobile as you could do on desktop. Now here's a big buzzword. The next that we're gonna talk about is AI. This is where JobTread has a massive advantage. So last month, JobTread released their MCP, which in layman's terms means that Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini can actually go into the back end of your JobTread account and make changes, create custom reports, custom integrations and workflows, all from your ChatGPT browser or your Claude browser. Buildertrend is completely closed off to this idea. I had a full conversation with one of their top team members last week, and the guy that I talked to said that there's almost a 0% chance that they're gonna have an MCP and open up Buildertrend to allowing AI to plug in. So right now, the only thing that you can do in Buildertrend with AI is have those weekly updates created with AI. So JobTread wins that one by a long shot. Next, we're gonna talk about integrations and accounting. So both JobTread and Buildertrend both integrate with QuickBooks and have other standard integrations. But I have to say JobTread takes the cake on this one. Their open API allows for a lot more integrations. They also have a native integration with GoHighLevel, which is the new up and coming top CRM within the sales and marketing space. Any savvy builder remodeler is using GoHighLevel right now because it's a lot more capable than HubSpot or Salesforce for a lot less price. But I have to say, the Buildertrend and Intuit QuickBooks integration is next level. That is built out to be a lot better than how JobTread has theirs set up. Okay, the last one, we're gonna talk about selections and allowances. So JobTread has job areas based selections. This was relaunched in February 2026. They have a web clipper that auto scans product pages and pulls images, prices, specs. They also have allowance overage, which auto creates change orders. Buildertrend's selections portal is part of their top complete tier for extra money, which if you were to get this would be $1,100 a month. So based on price, I'm going with JobTread. But if you're willing to pay the price and price is no issue, Buildertrend wins this one. So score it however you want, but these are the real facts. Next, we're gonna talk about the sales process of both. So I inquired with both of them at the same time. I created a fake startup company so that they both treated me the same. I had a story that I was a new home builder and I had a couple projects on the go. I started a story where I was a new home builder based out of Vancouver, Canada, and I was just about to get my first custom home deal and I needed a project management software to help me along those lines. So that was the story that I led with. The company's name was VC Construction, which was just completely made up. I did end up telling both sales reps at the end of the call that this was a mock demo and that I was going to use the information to actually compare them both, and they were both fine with that. So I will say, Buildertrend was a little bit more on top of the ball when I first inquired. I got multiple emails and I believe 2 phone calls confirming my appointment before I had it. Whereas with Zach at JobTread, my sales rep there, when I inquired, it was, I believe, was still within the first hour, but it was a little bit less of an aggressive approach. It was a little bit more of a soft approach where I booked in, I got an email within the first hour, and then he phoned me before the demo just to make sure that I was still gonna hop on. Whereas with Buildertrend, I did get 2 phone calls before I hopped on. So with the JobTread demo, I was shown pricing within 5 minutes. With Buildertrend, they didn't talk about pricing at all, even though I had asked, until 34 minutes into the demo. They did a lot of probing on me before they ever talked about pricing. Whereas JobTread led with the price and gave it all up front. And so to reiterate what we talked about earlier with the pricing, JobTread $199 paid monthly, no commitment, month to month. Buildertrend $699 monthly, multiple tiers, you need to pay for extra support and extra setup, minimum 12-month commitment. I will say, not to be biased, but there is something to be said about a company that won't let you out of a 12-month commitment in the software space. You have to believe in your product a lot to be able to let people leave and not sign a 12-month commitment. And JobTread really believes in their product from this point of view, and Buildertrend doesn't. Now let's talk about what they thought of each other. So JobTread was actually very nice about Buildertrend. They didn't bring it up until I brought it up later in the conversation, because I wanted to see in both sales processes if Buildertrend would talk about JobTread and if JobTread would talk about Buildertrend, as they're both dominating for the top spot right now. JobTread did talk a little bit negative about Buildertrend. They said that the mobile app was limited. They said that it was a 12-month commitment and quite expensive for a very similar product. Buildertrend said that JobTread, if you were to go with them, you would completely regret it. They said that if you grow as fast as you think you grow, you will outgrow it, meaning that you'll regret it. So they didn't say it in a really condescending way. They just said that if you are wanting to grow your company to be $100 million, $10 million, you will outgrow JobTread. And so they think Buildertrend is a better option in that sense. Buildertrend really pushed for a second call where they could close me, and JobTread really pushed that we go and just sign up for it, and that the product will do the selling, and that there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. And so one seemed like they really believed in the product, and the other one seemed like they were really keen on getting us in there, but they wanted to have that other call so that they could close us. There was no kind of free trial to try things out. I will say this about the reviews. Buildertrend does have 18 times the amount of Google reviews that JobTread does. But that's also because they've been around more than 15 years longer than JobTread has. Here are some of the most talked about things in the reviews from JobTread to start. It was very easy to onboard. The support was top notch. The time savings on estimating took me from 6 to 7 hours down to 1 hour. A very active Facebook group with a lot of support in it, where the founder actively engages with the community. Some of the complaints that JobTread got within their reviews: the learning curve is real if you want the full power of JobTread. Takeoff measurements don't always align with the plans. The CRM is lightweight. It has Stripe-only payment processing. Now let's talk about Buildertrend's positive reviews. They have a very mature feature set. They're very well-rounded. Very strong client portal, like what we talked about earlier. The customer service rating was quite high at a 4.7, and it's kind of an all-in-one system from lead all the way to close. Some of the negatives that Buildertrend had within their reviews were things like the cost. Data export. It's extremely hard to export your data if you ever decide to leave. Apparently the mobile app is very prone to crashing, and there's a steep learning curve. One review clearly stated there's 10 times more clicks than necessary. And a lot of people were complaining about the renewal hikes from 50 to 65% increase year over year. Another bad one was the cancellation friction. There is a mandatory exit interview that is required for you to leave. Now let's talk about growth and trajectory of both companies. So JobTread from 2019 had 150 customers, and in 2026, now they have surpassed 10,000, which is more than a 40x in 5 years. They're completely bootstrapped with zero outside money, meaning that they're not dependent on paying investors back. They're not just for your money. One really cool thing was they've actually been voted the #1 best place to work in Dallas 4 years in a row. And how fast they've been able to ship new features has made them very hard to keep up with. Having their new MCP, having the GoHighLevel native integration, these are all things that completely separate them from their competition. Now let's talk about Buildertrend. They are maturing, but a little bit more slowly. 20,000 plus customers, over 20 years in business. They are owned by a private equity firm called Bain Capital. Year over year, JobTread is growing significantly faster, and within the next 2 years, it's very, very, very likely that they'll surpass Buildertrend in users. So, out of the two, who do I think each one is best for? If you are a contractor that's between $500,000 to $10 million, whether you are a specialty contractor, a landscaper, a remodeler, custom home builder, pool builder, JobTread is probably going to be the best option for you, especially if you're using QuickBooks or GoHighLevel, and if you don't want a massive commitment. Plus, I'd put a big emphasis on it's really great for cost plus. And I would recommend that you pick Buildertrend if you're a residential builder doing more than $5 million a year with an office team. If the client portal is a huge part of your selling pitch, Buildertrend will be a definitive option for you. If you have 20 plus employees, Buildertrend will also be a clear option for you. If you want the most mature option that's the most well-rounded, Buildertrend is going to be a good option, but you have to be willing to pay for it. So here's my honest take. In my opinion, 90% of the people watching this are probably going to be more for JobTread, and there might be 10% of you that should pick Buildertrend over JobTread. JobTread just has a lot more momentum. Their founder is a visionary and is not all about getting money, is more customer driven rather than money driven, whereas Buildertrend is a Goliath of a software. They're very well rounded. They've been around 20 years, 20,000 plus companies that use them. They're very well established, but they're a lot more expensive, so you pay for that. With the differences of features, yes, Buildertrend might have a slight advantage on a few things, but JobTread gets you just as much there, about 95% the way there, for significantly less price with zero commitment. And so that's why I would lean more towards JobTread in this case. So if you got value from this video, feel free to like and subscribe so future content like this gets promoted to you. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Seth Van Dale. I'm one of the co-founders at Home Builder Marketers and Sightline, where we are developing AI for home builders and remodelers to help them buy back their time by pre-training AI agents and coming into your business and placing them there. We're also on a mission to help 10,000 home builders reach more than 10 custom homes sold per year. So if you align with that vision, again, make sure to follow and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.